So here we are, Book 3. If you thought A Clash of Kings was chaotic, welcome to A Storm of Swords, where weddings are deadly, corpses don't stay down, and loyalty gets you stabbed. A lot. We open at the Wall, where Jon Snow is deep in his undercover wildling phase. He's hanging out with Ygritte, aka red-haired Chaos, learning that wildlings are messy, free-spirited, and not really into celibacy vows. He's supposed to spy, but ends up catching feelings and frostbite. Meanwhile, Samwell Tarly, you know the BFF of Jon Snow, has survived the zombie bear and is now emotionally shattered, asthmatic, and carrying a baby through the snow. Survival status, low, but somehow improving. He saved Gilly, the girl he has a crush on, from her terrible father, and is now nominated for the best stepdad ever. At Riverrun, Catelyn Stark is spiraling. Her son Robb married the wrong girl, her daughters are missing, and now she's released Jaime Lannister behind everyone's back in a desperate trade attempt. Her family, not impressed. Speaking of Jaime, he's now on a road trip with Brienne of Tarth, a giant, honorable tank of a woman who could crush a man with her pinky. They bicker like an old married couple, fight bears, and somehow become one of the most emotionally complex duos in the series. We are here for it. Over in King's Landing, Tyrion is healing from Blackwater and discovering that heroism doesn't pay. He gets zero credit, a scarred face, and a forced marriage on the horizon. Cersei's still bitter, Joffrey's still awful, and Sansa, she's about to get caught in a political matchmaking game with zero happy endings. Arya, on the run again, is collecting trauma like Pokemon cards and now rolling with the Brotherhood without banners. They're like Robin Hood but scruffier and with more reanimated corpses. And Bran, still hiding, still dreaming, and maybe turning into a magical forest tree boy. It's unclear, but concerning. Let's continue with Jaime Lannister, who is no longer the guy you love to hate, because now you just kind of pity him. After being captured, humiliated, and hand amputated, yes, sword hand RIP, he's dragged through the mud by Locke's Bolton goons. He's starving, half dead, and now suddenly human. Character development speedrun unlocked. Brienne, meanwhile, is just trying to stay alive while surrounded by guys who call her wench every 5 minutes. She holds her own, even when she's literally thrown in a pit to fight a bear. Jaime jumps in with one hand and saves her. Are they besties? Enemies? Something more? No one knows, but it's tense and weirdly beautiful. Back in the north, Jon Snow reaches the top of the Wall with Ygritte. And yes, cave scene incoming. But more importantly, Jon's getting deeper into Mance Rayder's wildling army and is now morally torn between his oath to the Night's Watch and his not-quite-a-girlfriend. Ygritte's like, we're together now. Jon's like, I'm definitely not spying on you. Spoiler, he definitely is. Robb Stark is busy playing king. Poorly. His army is shrinking, his allies are grumpy, and the phrase, still salty he married for love instead of alliance. You can practically hear the wedding invitations being set on fire. Catelyn tries to salvage things by sending Edmure Tully into a politically arranged marriage with a Frey girl. His reaction? Can I at least see her first? Westerosi Tinder, folks. Arya, on the other hand, escapes the Brotherhood just in time to be captured by the Hound. Yes, Sandor Clegane, back in grumpy dad mode, now sees her as a ticket to ransom gold. The dynamic? Weirdly wholesome and deeply threatening. Devos Seaworth survives Blackwater, washes up on a rock, and immediately tries to assassinate Melisandre. It goes poorly. Stannis throws him in jail because apparently, thank you for trying to help me not be possessed by fire magic isn't appreciated. Things are heating up in Westeros, emotionally, politically, and in one case, literally. Let's start in King's Landing, where Tyrion is forced into a surprise wedding with Sansa Stark. Tywin Lannister, you know, the best father ever. He thought it was important to expand their power, so his son Tyrion had to marry Sansa Stark and his daughter Cersei had to marry one of the Tyrells. The result was that neither of them were happy at all. Sansa is devastated, Tyrion is deeply uncomfortable, and Joffrey, he's just thrilled to humiliate everyone. Great vibes. The wedding itself is awkward, sad, and ends with Tyrion refusing to consummate the marriage unless Sansa actually wants to, which in Westeros is basically knight-level decency. Meanwhile, Cersei is spiraling. Her grip on Joffrey is weakening, Marguerite Tyrell is charming her way into the crown, and the Tyrells are gaining influence fast. Cersei's answer to everything? Paranoia, wine, and poorly veiled threats. North of the Wall, Jon Snow continues his undercover wildling routine, now featuring light treason and snow cuddles. He helps the wildlings raid villages, but when they ask him to kill an innocent man, he can't do it. Jon blows his cover, runs back to Castle Black, and prepares for the fight of his life. Ygritte? Not thrilled. Breakup status, fiery and arrow-filled. Elsewhere, Bran is having psychic wolf dreams and learning how to warg into Hodor, which is both incredibly useful and ethically questionable. He and his ragtag squad head for the Wall, hoping to find answers, mentors, or at least shelter with fewer undead things. And then it happens. The Red Wedding. Robb Stark and his army arrive at the twins for Edmure's arranged marriage to a random Frey girl. You know, the girl he actually should marry because, yeah, dude, that was the deal. Everything seems fine. The music plays, the wine flows, Edmure's wife is surprisingly attractive. And then the doors close. Cue arrows. Cue chaos. Cue Catelyn's face when she realizes it's all a trap. In a span of minutes, Robb Stark, Catelyn Stark, Grey Wind, half the Northern Army, and everyone's remaining hope for justice are violently erased. The Freys smile, the Boltons backstab, and we all sit in stunned, betrayed silence, like what the actually heck just happened. I guess that happens when you don't practice what you preach. Ouch. Previously on Westeros, the Starks went to a wedding and left in body bags. Now it's time for part 2 of George R.R. Martin's sadistic matrimony tour. In King's Landing, Joffrey Baratheon, and walking red flag and human war crime, is finally getting married to Marguerite Tyrell. The city celebrates. The Tyrells serve looks. Cersei is silently panicking. And Sansa? She's trapped in a nightmare with better flower arrangements. The wedding is extravagant. 77 courses, a jousting dwarf show, live music, and more awkward tension than a Stark family reunion. And then Joffrey takes a sip of his wine, starts choking, turns purple, and drops dead in front of everyone. Cause of death? Poison. Cause of joy? Everyone who ever met him. Cersei screams murder. Tyrion, unfortunately holding the wine cup at the wrong time, gets arrested on the spot. Sansa disappears with Ser Dantos, who whisks her away to a mysterious boat where, surprise, Littlefinger is waiting because nothing says safe escape like trusting the most manipulative man in the realm. Apparently, marrying in this time is just deadly. Littlefinger explains everything. He planned Joffrey's death, he played both sides, and he's now basically Sansa's extremely creepy fairy godfather. Oh, and he shoves Dantos overboard. Charming. Meanwhile, Arya, still emotionally destroyed from arriving just in time to miss the Red Wedding, she was so excited to finally see her brother Robb and her mother Catelyn again. Once she's there is chaos, and she knows. Aboard mission. She continues her murder road trip with the Hound. She's becoming bolder, colder, and absolutely done with this entire continent. In the Vale, Lysa Arryn, Catelyn's sister and full-time Chaos Engine, welcomes Littlefinger and Sansa to the Eyrie. She's now married to Petter and immediately begins spiral mode jealousy when she sees him talking to Sansa for longer than 3 seconds. Sansa? Trapped again, new location, same nightmare? Elsewhere, Jon Snow returns to Castle Black just in time for Mance Rayder's wildling army to attack the Wall. He's exhausted, injured, and probably suffering from heartbreak and frostbite, but still manages to lead a defense with grit, strategy, and increasingly heroic eyebrows. In King's Landing, Tyrion Lannister is arrested for the murder of King Joffrey. Problem, he didn't do it. Bigger problem, everyone wants him to have done it because it's convenient. Especially Cersei, who finally sees a way to get rid of her least favorite sibling legally. Tyrion's put on trial and it's a disaster. Witness after witness lines up to lie about him. The cherry on top? Shay, a woman Tyrion genuinely loved and protected, gets bribed or scared into testifying against him. She calls him a monster in front of the court. Tyrion breaks. His bitterness, rage, and heartbreak boil over and he demands a trial by combat. Enter Oberyn Martell, Prince of Dorne, also known as the Red Viper. He volunteers to fight for Tyrion, not out of kindness, but to kill Gregor Clegane, the Mountain, the man who raped and murdered his sister Elia. The Mountain is the creepy big-ass bodyguard of Cersei Lannister. I mean, if you need a giant of a bodyguard like this, you must have done some bad shit to be protected like this. The fight is brutal and brilliant. Oberyn is fast, precise, and theatrical. He wounds the Mountain. He's winning. Then, he wants a confession. He circles. He monologues. And while he's mid-revenge speech, the Mountain grabs him, crushes his skull with his bare hands, and collapses. Tyrion is sentenced to die, but Jaime, who has finally found his way home, feeling guilty and finally being a decent brother, breaks Tyrion out of his cell. Sweet moment. Brotherhood reborn. Until Jaime confesses one last thing. Years ago, Tyrion's first wife Tisha, the girl their father Tywin said was a prostitute, wasn't. She really did love him. Tywin lied. Jaime helped lie, and Tyrion loses his mind. He detours from his escape to find Tywin. Once he enters his room, he sees someone familiar. It is Shay. He finds her in Tywin's bed. She tries to plead, calls him my lion. Tyrion strangles her with the golden chain she's wearing. There's no justice here, only heartbreak and poison. Next, Tywin. Tyrion confronts him while he's sitting on the toilet. Tywin stays smug, calls Tayshia just a whore again. Tyrion grabs a crossbow, fires once. Tywin dies mid-sentence, in mid-squat. It's grotesque. It's symbolic. It's what passes for closure in Westeros. Tyrion escapes across the narrow sea, a wanted man, carrying scars that are way deeper than skin. Meanwhile, across the world, Daenerys Targaryen has conquered Meereen. She's freed thousands of slaves, executed the cruel masters, and finally has power. But ruling, way harder than conquering, her dragons are growing, and getting dangerous. When Drogon kills a child, she chains up her babies and decides to stay in Meereen to learn to lead, not just burn. She is becoming more feared by the rest who wants the throne, because you know it is a very special chair. The Mad King who was sitting on the Iron Throne before Robert Baratheon was the father of Daenerys. So yeah, I kinda understand why she wants it right. So, what have we learned from A Storm of Swords, the book that made plot armor a myth and trauma a genre? We learned that no one is safe. Not kings, not queens, not direwolves, not even wedding guests. We learned that if you go to a wedding in Westeros, you don't ask, chicken or fish? You ask, which weapon will I be stabbed with? We learned that Tyrion Lannister is too smart to live comfortably, too blunt to survive court politics, and too emotionally wrecked to walk away quietly. He loved a woman. She betrayed him. Then he killed her. Then he killed his dad. All in the same night. Character development or emotional implosion? You decide. We learned that Daenerys is done being cute. She has dragons. She has an army. And she has zero tolerance for slavers, liars, or people who underestimate her. She's not flying to Westeros yet, but when she does, it's not going to be subtle. We learned that Jon Snow can lead, kill, climb, cry, and survive, all while brooding harder than anyone since Batman. He betrayed the wildlings. He lost Ygritte. But hey, at least he got promoted. We learned that Arya is done hoping. She's collecting names, stabbing casually, and slowly becoming an unstoppable little murder prodigy. Honestly, we support her journey. We learned that Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, is now somehow likable. He lost his hand and found a conscience. That's progress. And pain, mostly pain. And finally, we learned that George R.R. Martin does not care about your feelings. He builds you up with slow-burning plots, relatable characters, and hopeful arcs, only to tear it all down with blood, betrayal, and one too many weddings. This was a Storm of Swords, where characters grow, then die, where love is lethal, and where you should never trust a dinner invitation. If your heart survived this summary, like the video, comment which death emotionally ruined you the most, and click the notification bell, because Book 4 is next and spoiler, things don't calm down.